5 things to avoid saying when you get a prospect on the phone. When you have a prospect on the other end of the line, the first 5 seconds can make or break you. You don't want to use words, phrases, or questions that create resistance instead of interest in those first 5 seconds. I feel particularly qualified to discuss this topic of what to avoid saying by making over 150,000 calls over the last 37 years and making more mistakes than anyone I know in the process. I've arrived at these conclusions after studying, practicing, and adjusting based on what worked and what didn't work. So before we talk about what to avoid saying, let me say a few things up front. Number 1, some of the things I'm going to tell you to avoid saying may work, but not over the long haul. They may work based on personality or delivery style, but most people would fail using them consistently. Secondarily, these suggestions are meant to help you lower the probability that you're going to create resistance. And finally, nothing works all the time. These suggestions are meant to increase your probability of success. You may react to some of the things I point out in this video by saying to yourself, I say those things all the time. I get it. I've made every mistake in the book. From the laboratory of human experience, in my opinion, here's what not to say. Number 1, I know you're busy. I'm sorry for interrupting. You're always an interruption. Don't apologize for doing your job, which is prospecting. Number 2, I'm not trying to say anything. Of course, the prospect knows that is the purpose of your call. They know why you're calling, and the statement adds no value and may actually create resistance. Number 3, you and I have never spoken before. Come on, you both know that you've never spoken to each other before. This statement is useless. And number 4 is, I just wanted to reach out to you, touch base with you, ask you a few questions, check in with you. Get rid of the word just. It sounds weak and diminishes everything that follows it. And 5, is now a good time? If you were a prospect and someone that you didn't know called you and said, is now a good time? Your typical reaction is going to be, no, make it quick, or what are you selling? If it is in fact a bad time for the prospect, let them tell you. Don't give them an out right away. Now that you know 5 things to avoid saying when you get the prospect on the line, what are you going to do differently on your prospecting calls? Think of the adjustments that you need to make and put them into action. The time is now.